joining us here. And so what we want to do tonight is, or tomorrow morning, in the morning, what we want to do is basically do a virtual data and design workshop. So this is going to be able to go into a fair bit of detail on some of the requirements for the project. And those of us that are here is, I'm Jim Pollock, and I'm going to be taking the business lead from BusinessWorks, or from aWhere standpoint. And then we've got Chad Hansel, and Chad is our program manager, and he'll be the one that probably has the most interface with you once we get really rolling here in this next very short period of time. And then Stuart Collis, right across here, is our Chief Technology Officer, and really is responsible for the overall architecture and design of our platform. And so he'll be also interacting with you as we go along. So we'll be the three people, the three voices and names that you'll hear the most as we move forward. And there'll be some other engineers and other people involved at various levels, but we'll be the ones that are talking to you all the most. And why don't you all do a quick introduction of those of you in the room so we at least have an idea of who all is there.
Thank you, Jim. And thank you, Chad, and other colleagues at aWhere team. And I'm glad after our kickoff meeting, and we make this possible, the first virtual design workshop after having repeated telephone calls and the Skype meetings. And thanks for your flexibility in having some flexible timings and even joining us late in the evening. I think it's 9 o'clock for you, 9 p.m. or 9?
Exactly, yes.
Thanks, Jim. So, yeah, as proposed, we would like to hear from you for the next steps. How do we need to move on this one? From our side, I'm Dilip Kumar, and I'm project sponsor for the aWhere ICRISAT data management project. And we have the Chukka Srinivasa Rao. He's the data management specialist who will be joining with us. And he's the guy coordinate most of these activities and closely work with you all. And we have our IT manager,
Pradyut Modi,
and who will provide the IT support on this project. And we have the tropical legumes 2 leader, Dr. Gowda, CLL Gowda, he's here. And we have Tushar Shah, who used to help us on the data management related activities. And he's here. You know him. He's the one participated in the requirement gathering along with CLL Gowda also. And we have Abhishek Rathod, who is the data curator on both tropical legumes and the whole project. And we have our other KSI team who is helping us, Kiran and Farid and Upender. And we have Venkat too, who is recording this one. Hope you don't mind recording this one and make it available for our team who could not able to access this one from Mali and Nairobi because of the time zone differences.
Well, I should have worn a tie.
Yeah, that's right. Like as I mentioned in the yesterday email, we would like to have 3 design workshops. Hope that would be okay with aWhere team, and we can see the progress of our work also, how we will be moving before we have this on-site design workshop, and that help us, the team, to perform the tasks efficiently and more effectively, and also help us to go for the requirement gathering, and also understand the data sets and the data harmonizing part also is required. So the first workshop we are starting because we have pretty much control here at Patancheru. So this is an initiation. This is the preferred time zone for the colleagues at Patancheru. And in the next one we will have at Mali, that's the preferred time zone for them, and we will make our adjustments according to their time. And the next one will be in Nairobi, and that's the preferred time zone for the Nairobi colleagues, and the other colleagues either see the recording session or adjust our timings. And the on-site workshop, we all will meet in Nairobi, and we are going to decide the date because there are some issues with the objective leaders and the project leaders as well. And with that introduction, shall we start, Jim? And now the floor is all yours. Of course, this is a virtual floor.
Well, thank you very much, and of course, please feel free to ask questions as we go along. But we're very excited about this project. We're very excited to work with all of you. And we think that there's going to be a lot of very interesting learning, on both sides, from our side and from your side, we hope as well. So what we want to accomplish today, very specifically, is one, just give you a little summary, of where we are right now. We've got our teams established. We've got some preliminary data that we've seen from the projects, and we'll have a statement kind of at the end about, where we're going. But then there's two things very specifically we want to accomplish today, and that is to identify and prioritize the data that we want to be able to load in the system and what the status of that data is in each individual piece of data or data set. And then we also are going to begin moving very quickly towards having some very consistent templates for gathering ongoing data. I think one of the big problems in very, very large-scale projects where you have many, many people gathering data in many countries for different aspects of a project, different crops, different aspects of a project, it's very difficult to have good, consistent quality and consistent formats of data. So that's one of the things that we want to work with you on, is not only help make this a very successful project, but to have an ongoing legacy that in the future you'll be even better prepared to initiate new projects and be more effective, higher quality, and higher consistency of data. And also we want to talk about data, and we also want to talk about the actual user roles and what the reporting needs are. So we want to make sure you understand what data we have available, and then what specific analysis and specific types of reports that we want to be able to generate for each of the different users. So we're going to talk about the different types of users and what they will actually be able to see and use. So right from our statement of work document, kind of a nice summary of a couple of the key business requirements that we're trying to reach are: one is to integrate and provision TL2 and HOPE project data so that it's very easily accessible by all of your internal personnel. So we want to make sure across the entire project, across all countries, in fact, both projects, and across all countries and all your crops that you're studying, we want to make all that information very easily accessible for all your personnel. Number two, we want to enable your internal personnel to be able to provide controlled accessibility of all this data to a large group of external users, all the way from donors to partners to field people to a large audience of people, to be able to control what information they have access to and make it available to them. And I think a key thing is we want this project in this immediate next few months to be a preliminary demonstration of the accessibility of the data by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the other donors you have, to be able to provide accessibility to them. And then kind of specifically here, we think a key, and this is once again right out of the statement of work, a very key objective and a key value of the project that we want to create is that the project will include data analysis, data collection, and data provisioning efforts to preliminarily demonstrate HOPE and TL2's long-term data management capabilities and potential. And to paraphrase that, we want to help you clean up and provision your existing data, and we want to prepare you for very good, consistent data collection practices as you go into the future. And then in the long term, ideally you want to have one common platform that can cross multiple ICRISAT projects, so it'll be very easy for any of your projects to share data between themselves. So, as the status of where we are right now, of course, we've already identified who the project teams from the aWhere standpoint, myself, Jim Pollock, Chad Hansel, Stewart. There's also a gentleman named Bo Bush, who's our IT manager that's responsible for our data center and all of its infrastructure. So a name that you may hear. But as I say, mostly myself and Chad will be the two key contacts that you'll have the most ongoing relationship with. And of course, from your side, you've identified TLII as a project sponsor, George and Emmanuel as project managers. Chuka, glad to have you aboard and joining. Sounds like you'll be starting at full speed. And then also representing the user profiles, I think, TLII, you mentioned there's Tom Hash, and right now I've just put down Emmanuel for the moment. for TL2 until you've identified someone there, but someone responsible for the user roles and the types of reports things they want to have.
Yeah, Jim, sorry to interfere you on this one. Like we have identified 3 people from tropical legumes and hope also. I will share with you that information, and this is a little different than the earlier document. And other than that, if you could correct me as a project leader, that would be wonderful.
Okay.
So I would like to see myself as a project leader rather than a project sponsor. Would that be okay?
No problem at all.
Thank you.
We have that technology to change that. Okay.
As long as you agree to that, we have no problem. Because our understanding of a sponsor is slightly different than what you may be understanding.
Okay.
Because the sponsor for us means the one who really provides all the funding and everything.
The money guy. I'm not a money guy. And Jim also made for the kind of technology to change these names and other thing, as long as you are not adding any additional charges, that would be okay with us.
We think we can do that for very, very, very low cost. But that's it. No, that's not a problem there. So we will definitely make those changes there. Okay.
Thank you.
So, once again, from the contract that we have between us, we have a series of milestones, of which today, right now, we're in the middle of really focusing on this milestone B. So, the original milestone A, let me see, I can also, let me grab a little pin and arrow here. Okay, there we go. So, hey, I can draw. Okay. So, the milestone A was basically just getting things started, getting our staffing commitments, and just the initial plan to get started, which you've already done. So currently we're working on milestone B. So the key things we're trying to accomplish right now is to go to a much more detailed project plan, which we're going to be having laid out for you in this next few days. This data and design workshop, which we're going to do a version here, and we'll have some additional contact along this line. And then also we'll be talking about the user interface workflow. Not the user interface itself, but the workflow that a user would go through to access and analyze data. And then also basically doing an analysis of the initial data sets. So those are the things we really want to be focused on right now and really get accomplished in this next week or so. And then from then on, for milestone C, in the next month time frame, we want to actually have all the existing data sets. We're going to try to have them all collected, provisioned, and integrated so we can have first views of actually having data live in the system. And then also milestone D is where we get into actually a full launch of what we call our evaluation module, which gives you the ability to analyze data. And then finally milestone E at the end of month 7 is we're going to be able to hopefully have everything up and running and have a nice review of the project. And of course, from then on, the system will just be running and you have access to information. So now we want to focus in on this milestone B. So we want to work on getting a detailed project plan in front of you. This workshop we're working on right now. Define the workflows that the users will experience. And then, and probably tonight, the thing we'll spend, today, the thing we'll spend the most time on is going through this initial assessment, kind of inventorying and assessing all the data that's going to be needed and required for the project here.